The March meeting of the Thousand Oaks Council on Aging is now called to order. Commissioner Wing, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Francine, would you call the roll, please?
Absolutely. Commissioner Borging.
Here.
Commissioner Fotheringham.
Here.
Vice Chair Grimm.
Present.
Commissioner Healy.
Here.
Commissioner Loomis.
Con mucha gracia.
Commissioner Norkin.
Here.
Commissioner Shentes.
Here.
Chair Surden.
Here.
And Commissioner Wing.
Here.
Thank you.
That brings us to agenda item number 4, public comments. We only have one request for public comments. Brenda Birdwell, our good friend from Senior Concerns. Brenda?
Good afternoon. It's so great to see everyone this afternoon and have such a great crowd. And I was told to make this short and sweet because you want to move on to the other speakers. I am with Senior Concerns. We're a nonprofit in Thousand Oaks. We started out doing Meals on Wheels over 35 years ago. We have an adult day center. We have caregiver support groups. We have case managers and advocates. Anything senior, come to us and we'll help you. I just wanted to let you know about a few things that are going to be going on in the near term. We have a monthly series. This year it's all about caregivers. The next one is going to be March 13th. It's going to be about caring for the caregiver, and it will be at the Senior Concerns Day Center at 401 Houghton Camp. We also have coming up at 401 Houghton Camp a Healthy Eating on a Budget. March is National Nutrition Month. That's presented by SCAN at Senior Concerns on Thursday, March 22nd from 3:30 to 4:30. We have ongoing brain fitness programs now. They're 4-week sessions that are ongoing, and we have them at the Goebel Center, the Simi Valley Senior Center, the Agoura Hills Recreational Center, and the City of Calabasas Community Service. We also have ongoing private lessons for brain fitness at 401 Houghton Camp. And last but not least, this year, commemorating Meals on Wheels for the Love Run, it's going to be on Sunday, June the 3rd, and this year, we're having a very special Betty Berry Brigade represented at the Love Run. So all of you who know and love Betty Berry and her weekly column in the Ventura County Star, there's going to be the Betty Berry Brigade. So you'll want to join up and support Betty and have all the seniors in the community coming out together. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Brenda. Next, we have Venice Castillo-Saad, representing Superintendent Parks, Linda Parks, talking about the Senior Summit. Venice?
Yeah, yes, thank you for having me. I will make this short and sweet. Right now, I'm just giving out a save the date. On April 21st, the Healthcare Agency and the Board of Supervisors is putting together a senior summit. This senior summit, for those of you who've come in the past, we've had different focus for each year. This year, we will focus on health and wellness for seniors in our county. We have a lot of great speakers. Again, it's Saturday, April 21st. We will have free transportation from your senior centers throughout the county. We will have a free lunch. The Healthcare Agency has put together a great group of speakers. This year we have a new forum called Ask the Doctors, where you will be able to sit with doctors and discuss a lot of really great topics within the process of aging. So again, right now I'm just giving you a save the date. Registration will begin the first week of April, and we will have brochures available for you the end of this month at all your senior centers throughout the county. So have a great day. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Venice. Next, we have Elise Klussman on the Community House of Hope. Elise?
Thank you very much. I'm here to invite all of you to the open house for the official opening of our Community House of Hope, which is an end-of-life residential facility. It is primarily for those who have no caregivers and no funds to pay for one. The dates are Sunday, March 18th from 3 to 5 p.m. and also on Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. And this is a very important new addition to serving seniors and providing for those who are the most vulnerable in our community. Again, our Community House of Hope. And if I didn't give you an invitation, you can go online, www.ourhouseofhope.com. NCBHope.org, and you'll get all of the information there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And it's an organization that definitely needs our support. It's a long time getting to our community, and we're very fortunate that all the effort's gone in to give us this particular service. All right, we're moving on to the Global Senior Adult Center. Andrea, could you join us at the podium, please?
All right, I'll make this quick. Good afternoon, everybody. First coming up for March, besides the Council on Aging, we still have our Professors and Pastries discussion group. And the newest one coming up for tonight is The Exiles, How They Changed Hollywood. So it's learning about the influence of European film artists that immigrated to the U.S. to escape Nazism. And 321, A Day in the Life of a Tumor. No, that doesn't sound too fun, but anyway, it's learn the diagnostic process and analysis of tumors and cancers, and it can be interesting. I'm told he's pretty humorous at it, so we can do that. The meaning of opera and the fun of it. If you've never really liked the opera, wanted to know something about it, this is a really cool program. Mr. Steve Crone does a wonderful job. He's funny. He's got PowerPoint information, and the one coming up is Porgy and Bess. So that's going to be a very good one, and that's going to be on March 12th from 3 to 5. And our Marquee Cafe lunch, we're doing our Spring Fling lunch, and our lovely Council on Aging will be sponsoring that, so we get to have fun with some pizza, salad, and other goodies, and wear a spring hat, possible door prizes. Youth Stamp Day, the Stamp Club at the Global Senior Adult Center always does a Youth Stamp Day, and that'll be Saturday, March 24th at 12:30, and it's free, so you can bring your kids, grandkids, and they'll be getting stamp collecting kits, and there's prizes and games. And it is coming on spring, so if you need to clean out your house and get some extra cash, this would be the time to do it. First part of April, get it all cleaned out, and we have our community garage sale at the center. It's $20 per parking spot, but then you don't even have to take away what you don't sell if you don't want to, because we have a bin there, either from Goodwill or Salvation Army, and you get to toss all your stuff in there, so you can go home nice and clean and nothing with you, so you can make some money or come shop. There's some really cool things. A really good seminar coming up on Thursday, April 19th is Empower Yourself, Protect Your Family. We will have an elder law attorney speaking about living trusts, estate issues, medical directives. We will have somebody with the Hospice Association, of course, discussing services, but myths and misunderstandings about hospice. And somebody speaking on the whys, whats, whos, and hows of reverse mortgages, if it's good for you, if it's not good for you. So it's going to be a panel discussion, and you'll be able to ask some questions. And then afterwards, we also have another sponsored lunch. And that'll be Amitri's pasta and whatnot. So we do have the tickets to help raise proceeds for the marquee lunch for those two things. And if anybody out here has some talent and likes to get on stage, we are having the Miss Senior Caneo Valley pageant, and that's going to be coming up Sunday, May 6th. But we already have all the forms to fill out if you want to join in and be a part of that wonderful program. And we usually have about 200 people show up, and some of our own Council on Aging does some of the judging, and it's quite a day. It's really, really fun. Another thing, with Senior Concerns, we are working along with them, and I know Brenda was talking about brain wellness. Well, we do have T, who is doing a brain fitness program, and it will be a monthly program, and it is fee-based, and it is in the afternoons from 3:30 to 5 on Tuesdays. So if you're interested in that and need more information on everything, I hope you listen to Fast On. Our phone number is 805-381-2744. Or, as everybody else, you can go to the Canal Rec and Park District site, so www.crpd/GSAC, and you can find all our goodies on there and all this information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Well, that brings us to our program, and I'd like to turn the program over at this point to Commissioner Nancy Healy to introduce our panel.
Okay. First, let me say how gratified all of us are on the Council on Aging for this turnout. It is wonderful. We are just, it's great. And I'd also like to invite all of you, each of you, to come back every first Wednesday to one of our televised programs. You'll love them. I also am just very grateful to our speakers who have agreed to participate today. Susan Poore is here representing the Village to Village Network. She is a founding member and board member of the San Francisco Village. She actually flew in last night and just to do the program. Actually took her less time, I think, than Caroline and Brandy, who drove in from Santa Monica and Claremont, the worst. So, and we were trying to figure out an easy way to get back to Claremont in the afternoon during traffic. And there may not be one, but spending the night here is another good thought. But I'm going to turn the program over to Susan. This is a very exciting concept program that I just think would be super for a community like this. We've learned a lot already in talking with Susan, so please listen carefully. There will be time for questions, as you were told, but it's just a great concept. And thank you again, everyone, for coming. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you. I knew I'd do that. We just thanks the council so much for inviting us to come on behalf of my colleagues. It's wonderful to be able to talk about the village movement. We've all been working in it for some time. And can you hear me? Stay closer. Okay. Better? So we're delighted to be here to have the chance to do that. As Nancy said, I am representing today the National Village to Village Network, which I'll talk about some. And also I'm a founder and member and board member of San Francisco Village, and I will tell you more about that organization as well. Caroline Koskinas is here from Wise and Healthy Aging, and Brandy Orton is here from Community Senior Services in Claremont, and Caroline is in Santa Monica. And what you will get today in terms of our goals are a number of different things. We are wanting to give you an overview of the village movement, the history of it, and the movement itself, and the model, and then the Village to Village Network and how it can be helpful to communities that are trying to start villages. Then you'll also have a chance to sort of see profiles of 3 different villages, and that will be Wise Connections, Real Connections, and San Francisco Village. So with that, you'll get a sense of the variety in the movement, how much it really reflects each community that it develops in, and how important it is to have people on the ground who are interested and excited about the movement really start to build it for themselves. So let me just set the context. Whoops. Okay. Let me set the context for this a little bit. The research shows that all of us want to stay in our own homes and our communities as we get older. This is probably not new news to anyone here, but the value of that is being close to the people you know, being able to continue using, going to the coffee shop that you know, going to the church that you're familiar with, having those networks around you that are important. And there are a lot of us that this is going to impact. There's so many different figures, and I just mention a couple of them. One of the most common is that there will be 70 million of people over 65 by the year 2030. That means about 1 in 4, 1 in 5 of us will be that age. And the other one that I love is that 10,000 people a day are turning 65. So that means that a huge demand for different kinds of services and different ways to do things, and different ways to live in our communities, and also the importance of communities really embracing the concept and learning how to work with it. So the question comes up then, what does it take to be able to do this? And I'm sorry that this graphic came out so small, but I will tell you what's in the circles. So the main concept in this movement now is something that's called person-centered. It means that the services that are available and the things that you have access to focus around you. It is not someone saying, this is what this offers and this is what you can have. It's you saying, this is what I need. Are you going to give it to me? And not are you going to give it to me necessarily, but can I purchase it? What does it cost? How does it fit into my community? These are ways that some of these ideas are being raised and are changing over time. So I put this in with the older adult in the middle. But up on the top there is housing. There are different pillars of this whole concept that are important to all of us that we need in order to be safe and secure in our communities. We need to be in good housing. We need access to medical care. We need access to what I often call the non-medical piece of medical care, which are those things that you deal with every day outside of your doctor's office. How do you get to your doctor's office? How do you get your prescriptions? Do you know what the prescription is for? Can you go grocery shopping? Do you have enough food? What's your transportation like? Do you have a community that you belong to? So all of those things that make it possible for you to even take advantage of your medical care, you need to also have outside of the doctor's office. So that's that next field of non-medical supports. The value of community. Community is hugely important. And one of the things that we know is that when people get too isolated, it can become sort of the trigger point for illness and depression. So there are lots of ways that we can do that, but it's also easy to slip into a state of isolation if you have a major life event like an illness or a divorce or becoming widowed that can impact that. So the importance of community is very strong. The moving around the circle, technology is hugely important and is becoming more so. And I know, if we talk to everybody in this room, people are all over the place, and whether they like it, whether they don't like it, whether they use it. But more and more, there will be some emphasis on technology and ways that can help us. And then the last circle that I've included is caregiver support. We all, as I said, have networks around us, but we'll be in a couple positions. We'll be helping other people because our friends and neighbors will need help, but we'll also need help ourselves. And so that concept of how do you support the people who are supporting you is also very important. I want to make one distinction here as we're talking, and it's the difference between aging in place and aging in community. And when we talk about aging in place, that often is being used to say, I'm going to stay where I am. I want to stay in my home, and I don't want to move from there. But even if I do move from there, I still want to age in place to the next site that I go to. Aging in community is aging in place plus, I'll say, because it means that you have connections to the things in the community that are important to you. So we've really started using the term aging in community rather than aging in place to really emphasize that concept of being in the community and being connected to the things that are important to you. This chart, excuse me, talks about what the important things are in terms of feeling comfortable in your community, that your basic needs are met, you're engaged in the community, your health and wellness are provided for, and that there's a sense of independence, autonomy, and I would also add to that interdependence. None of us can do this alone, and one of the hardest things for any of us to do is ask for help. Part of all of the models, including the village, is that you're part of a community, and we want people to ask for help. You want to give, you want to be able to help other people, and you want to ask for help. Okay. So just quickly, I'm going to go. This slide, again, doesn't show up so well on here. It looked great on my computer at home. But what this does show is the continuum of care. There's a big shift now from people living in institutions and living in residential housing, much more out into the community. Even medical care is moving that way, all kinds of things. So that's the focus of this, that a lot of things that may have been done in a centralized place are becoming more decentralized to make them easier to access. Okay. And then one final thought, choice or necessity on this. There is the choice to age in community, and again, most people do make that choice. But for many of us, it'll also be a necessity because there's a very high home ownership rate among older adults, and people want to stay there. Even if they want to move, sometimes it's not affordable to do that. And if you don't want to move, how do you ensure that you can stay in your home? So I just raised that because it can be thought of in different ways. So the village model started, these are not in the same order, okay, was started by a group of older adults in Boston, and they lived in the Beacon Hill section, but they didn't see what they wanted out there in order for them to stay in their own homes and communities. These are primarily people that did not qualify for publicly funded services, but they had no intention of moving. So they came together to decide what they really wanted to do. So I'm going to give you a quick definition of villages. And the first thing I want to say is that a village is not a building. It's not a particular place. It's a neighborhood. It's a community. It can be in an apartment building, or it can be in a condominium complex. But the concept is it's a community, however that's defined. And so one definition, and just truly is just one definition that I made up that I think reflects a lot of what we're trying to achieve, is that villages are community-based membership organizations that empower older adults to remain in their homes and neighborhoods as they age, pursuing the interests, activities, and volunteer opportunities of their choice while receiving the supports and services they need to remain active and involved. So that's a long sentence, but it does get across the point. Other things about villages, about why you can, these slides will be available to you later, so I'm not going to go through these. But again, population aging, people want to stay in their homes. Families are geographically distributed more. You may not have children. There are not too many options for affordable housing. The biggest factor to me is that most of us are going to live for 20 or 30 years after the age of 60. And what we will see is that our health status will start to decline some over years, but it doesn't mean that we have to move. All of us will probably have some chronic condition. Our economic insecurity will vary, and we'll be going through various transitions. So it's how you weather all of that and go through it, but have the supports available to you. So today in the United States, there are 68 villages that are open. We know of at least 120 that are in development. And you can see there's a concentration on the East Coast, and that one star in California doesn't mean there's only one village. There are several. This says 12 to 16, which is about right there. So it's growing. I mean, the Village to Village Network gets calls and emails every day about the villages. The hallmarks and guiding principles are nothing that is cast in stone. One thing about the villages is that they really reflect the communities that they are part of. But there are guidelines and principles that we have seen emerge, and that they are self-governing, they're self-supporting, they're grassroots organizations. They are built by people who want them for themselves. They consolidate services, coordinate, they do not duplicate. The idea is not to recreate anything that's already in a community. They take advantage of community organizations to build partnerships so that they're not doing this alone. They promote volunteerism. It's a way for people to become engaged. The whole part of the concept, in addition to practical services, is building community so that people have that place where they belong. And again, that they do reflect the communities that they're part of. They are focal points for members. There is no one set of services that are provided by villages. There's nothing that's dictated. But here's a sampling of some of those things. One number to call for information and assistance, member-to-member volunteer support, help with daily living needs, health-related supports, just getting to the doctor, help navigating the health system, social, cultural, and educational programs, assistance with arranging services that you may need, like home care, and what we call early care management, getting help with coordinating what you need when you just don't have the answers to that, but you don't need you can't do that on your own. The staffing of villages is small. They usually have an executive director and a member services manager. Those are often the two first staff positions. We found that social work skills are very important in villages to help members with the various issues that may be dealing with. The revenue generally comes from member fees, from grants, donations, and sponsorships. Villages have a broad range of providers that they work with, and they are screened very carefully by the villages. And then all villages generally have reduced fee membership, so that the membership fee is not a barrier to people. Quickly, there are different models of implementation, and you'll hear about a couple today during this presentation. A newly created nonprofit, which is about 75% of the villages that exist. Some are programs of bigger organizations. Some are totally online. Some have a central administrative place, and then they have different, what are sometimes called pods or circles in different outlying communities. And some come together around a particular issue, like healthcare, time banking, CCRCs, the community care retirement communities, are starting to look at the concept too. Skip that one. One of the important things about any new model of care these days has to do with whether it works or not. And there is not evidence yet that says that if you're part of a village, it means you don't have to move. However, there is a tremendous amount of very similar research to this, and there is some research going on in the village movement to make the case for it. But there is no question that there is very positive impact on people's health when they are involved in things. Social capital increases and reduced isolation. It can delay any kind of move into another site. One of the things that we also stress in this is that how important social connections are, and this is a factor that our social connections can improve odds of survival by 50%. and that having low social interaction with people is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day, being an alcoholic, more harmful than not exercising, and twice as harmful as obesity. I know, kind of scary. I talked a little bit about the research. I will go over that. I want to just give you a little bit of information about the Village to Village Network. This is the national organization that provides a tremendous amount of information, shared resources, and guidance to new and operating villages. That's the website for it. I really urge you to go on that, and you'll find all kinds of information. It is for an organization to join the Village to Village Network costs $350 a year, and again, there's lots of different services that you get for that. It is a partnership between an organization called NCB Capital Impact and Beacon Hill Village. And each of the villages around the country, again, support that with their dues. But it is leading the charge in terms of replicating the model, in terms of providing technical assistance, in terms of doing the research for the program. And it says 185 active organizational members now. And some of the benefits to it, if you belong to that, are an information phone line that's open all day, 5 days a week, email access. It does 3 to 4 webinars a month that allow you to learn about all aspects of the village. It has member forums that go on. People put their documents on there and share those so that you don't have to recreate things. There's a national village directory. Access to information on funding sources, and then they keep a news log of all the different articles that are printed about villages as well. What happened? Oh, thanks. So let me move on. So we are, in the village movement, really excited about the development of the village, and having so many people turn out for this presentation today is terribly exciting. We all do. We've done lots of presentations around the country, and it's wonderful to see this kind of excitement around it. So I'll stop there. I'll turn it over to Caroline and look forward to your questions later.
Thanks. I also have to say that I'm really impressed at the turnout at today's meeting, and that you guys are way ahead of the game. This community, just having such interest is you're already there. I mean, and somebody who's interested should get people's names and start, building up a contact list, because you're the people who are going to get this going. So it's great to see so many people. I'm going to talk about WISE Connections, which is our village program. We don't use the word village because there was some confusion with a physical location of a village. So we're called WISE Connections. I'm going to talk about how we got into this and our business model. We are a parent organization, part of a parent organization, and also a hub and spoke business model. So we are part of a nonprofit organization called Wise and Healthy Aging. Wise and Healthy Aging is a social services nonprofit that's been around for over 40 years. We serve older adults, and we're located in Santa Monica, and we serve all of LA County, though we predominantly serve west side of Los Angeles. We are somewhat like Senior Concerns, and we have, a large range of activities or services for older adults, ranging from case management. We have transportation, nutrition programs, adult day service center. So, we run the gamut in services, but we're always looking for what's next, what's out there, how can we address, the changing demographics and needs and issues in the community. So taking a look at Los Angeles West Side community, that's our primary target area. We've got about 230,000 boomers and seniors in the area, and about 40% of those are 65 and older. And when we look at the income, median household income is about $56,000. When you're looking at a community that works well for the village, a lot of these, because they're membership based, you look at communities that can, somewhat afford some sort of membership fee. That's where, you have to always think about sustainability with these village programs. So we take a look, and this is, you don't have to read all this, but when we take a look at what the needs are of the seniors and the boomers in our community, Susan addressed a lot of these needs. We see, transportation, independent living services, caregiver services, issues with health care, and social and cultural enrichment. And we take a look at what is out there right now. We see that there's a shortfall in each one of these categories, and certainly what's out there is not doesn't address a person in a holistic way. So when we were looking at how can we address these issues in a holistic way, the village seemed to be a really good model. And as Susan said, because of geographic dispersion, a lot of people may have relied on their families for help or lived with their families. Now people don't live near their families, and also people who are aging don't want to have to rely on their families. They want to have that independence. So that's where the village comes in. And that is where we decided to create Wise and Healthy Aging, Wise Connections. So that's our village. And so here's a map of part of LA County, and we are, those green stars over there represent where we're currently active. So as I mentioned, we're a hub and spoke business model. I'm going to talk about that in a couple minutes, but just visually, we are active in both the Santa Monica and Mar Vista communities, neighboring communities in West LA, and we are going to be expanding to 2 new communities, Pacific Palisades and Marina Venice. Those will be 2 new spokes that we'll be going into. So the idea of the hub and spoke business model is when we took a look at our geography in West Side Los Angeles, there were a large number of communities that we wanted to serve, but we wanted to stay true to the village concept, which was keeping it very community-based. So we really wanted each one of these communities to have their own identity and own, community association. So at the hub of it is the Wise and Healthy Aging, the nonprofit, is the administrative hub. So we at Wise and Healthy Aging, it's the legal 501c3 entity. They have the board of directors. They manage the administrative things, finance, marketing, IT, and then we house the staff at Wise and Healthy Aging. And then each one of the communities is the operating arm or the spokes. These are volunteer-based people who typically lead the different spokes, and they help to do outreach. They help to recruit volunteers. They help to determine the services, and they help to conduct the services. A lot of these are very volunteer-based, so it's extremely reliant on the community, which is why I'm saying all of you here, having just such the interest is a great place to be right now. So that's the hub and spoke business model. Why do we go that route? Well, as I said, we looked at the community, and it seemed to be the best way to address a number of different communities and still keep it specific, still have that community feel. Also, it eliminates redundancy. So rather than have 3 villages next to each other, all doing the same thing, we have it centralized in one administrative hub, so it reduces the cost and makes it more efficient. Efficiencies of scale and scope, so the larger we are and the more geographic span we have, the better negotiating power we have to get discounts for our members and provide different types of services. Also, more efficient outreach and marketing. We can have a marketing ad or campaign in a newspaper, and it'll go to multiple communities, and it just makes sense financially, and it also facilitates startups. So if we have somebody in our area who wants to get involved and they have a number of community members that are interested in taking the lead, we have everything. We have everything for them, all the templates of how to do things and the vetted vendors, and so you're not starting from scratch, which can take, these villages take some, a year, 2 years, sometimes more than that to get developed. So having that in place, it really expedites the process. So current snapshot of Wise Connections, we launched officially about just over a year ago, in January 2011. We have funding from the Archstone Foundation, which Real Connections and San Francisco also has, which is great. And we also have funding from our local city, the city of Santa Monica, and they provide funding specifically to subsidize memberships for people who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford it. So we're really lucky to have that. Pricing, we have fairly low pricing when you look at ranges of prices around the country. We came out with a special $1 a day peace of mind, so $365 for an individual, $475 for a two-person household. And our membership right now is right about 100. Average usage, about 70 services delivered per month, and that's growing rapidly as people discover what types of services are available and as our membership grows. So that varies from people, getting, us calling people saying, just checking in, making sure you're doing okay, to helping take out the trash or helping people drive somewhere, take them to the grocery store. We usually have about 4 social activities per month. And this, as Susan said, this is a huge component, and one of our biggest components is just keeping people socially active. And our membership varies from people who are socially isolated, maybe because of an event like a divorce or a spouse passing away, or they're away from their family. But it can also just be people who are looking to meet new people and stay connected to their community. And about 75% of our members utilize our services or attend social outings. So, some people do join just as a peace of mind, but we do have most of our members utilizing services. Needs addressed. Susan touched upon this, but, transportation, home service. Home services involves taking in and out trash, changing light bulbs, help changing smoke detector batteries and things like that. Social and cultural, these are kind of everything Susan said. Vetted vendors. One of the big things of villages is that, a lot of older adults are taken advantage of by service providers. They also don't trust having somebody in their house alone. So the village goes through an extensive process of screening these vendors to make sure that they're licensed and certified and that they're going to treat the members with, respect and be fair. So that's a good peace of mind for the members. Our most popular services, and the most popular service probably across all villages, is transportation. So rides to the doctors, hospital, grocery store, pharmacy, to run errands, whatever it is, we get requests for that all the time. Extra cares, things like, checking in with somebody. A lot of people who live by themselves just want somebody to call, whether it's on a daily basis or every other day, just to say, hey, just checking in, make sure you, got up this morning or that you got back from whatever you were doing today. And then social activities is the other really big one. And with regard to social activities, not that you can read any of that, but we send out a monthly news bulletin, and basically it outlines, it just gives a little bit of highlight of what we did the previous month, and then it outlines what's going on this month. And this has been a really great tool to get people interested in what's going on. And it's also a good marketing piece, just because it shows people what we actually do. So just some stories to kind of make it a little bit more real. Albert is one of our members. He's in his mid-80s, and he's somebody who, used to be very involved. He used to be a member of a couple different theaters. He'd go, every week to the theater, and he loved to go to museums. He found that as he got older, because he wasn't able to drive, he could no longer do these types of activities, and he really missed them. He joined Wise Connections, and we've taken him, since he joined in August, we've taken him to about 5 different plays and about 3 different museums. And, you don't think about it, but all of our members said, not all of them, but a couple members that we took to take to museums said, I couldn't enjoy going to museums before because, just standing hurts your knees and hips. But when you go with a group of volunteers, they can push you around the wheelchair. It's just there if you need it. So anyway, he's so happy when we pick him up and take him to the plays or to the museums. You can really see a difference in him. So it's very exciting. Megan is another member who is suffering from dementia, and her daughter signed her up. She wanted her to become more socially involved, and we had her come to one of our Thanksgiving meals, and when she got into a big group, she seemed to become very frustrated and overwhelmed and kind of started yelling at people. And we didn't really understand this. We wanted to, help keep her engaged and socially involved, but, there wasn't a good group dynamic. And I guess part of dementia is that you can get overwhelmed in groups. So we found a volunteer who was another member who was an RN who dealt with people with these kinds of issues, and now she goes on a weekly basis to do a friendly visit, and she walks with her every week, and they have things, and they've built this companionship and friendship, and so it's really nice that now she has somebody and something to look forward to, and somebody who actually knows how to to deal with these kind of issues. Elaine is another member who's 92 years old. She lives alone. She's extremely independent. She golfs 3 times a week and walks, carries her bag. So she joined just to support the program because she thought it was a great concept. By the way, if you start this, you'll find that people who are, in their hundreds say, "Oh, sounds great, but I'm not ready, not yet." So, yeah. So she didn't think she'd have any need for it. She came home one afternoon at about 5:30 and found that her home had been broken into, and a big sliding glass door. The whole thing was broken. So she called the cops, and then after she called Wise Connections because she didn't know what to do with this big, hole in her wall, and she was worried. It was starting to get dark and late, and she didn't know who to call. So she called her member services manager, and our member services manager, worked really quickly to find somebody who was open at that time. And within an hour, she had somebody boarding up their window. And then the next morning, she had somebody replace the glass. So, just a phone call like that, everything was taken care of. And she reassured her, called and said, we can make accommodations for you if you want to. She actually offered to go stay with her that night just to make sure she felt comfortable in her home. So those are just a couple of stories, just to kind of give you some examples. And I also have a video I'm going to show in a minute. Okay. So this was a video that was on KCET, did a documentary on Wise Connections recently, and it just aired last week, and it's actually going to be on again tonight on Your Turn to Care. And this was... it's also going to be nationally syndicated, so I am going to...
Your Turn to Care. We went to Santa Monica to see how...
My name is Barbara Browning, and I'm a volunteer for the Wise Connections, which is a part of the Village Movement.
Oh, hi, Ms. Goodrich. How are you today?
The beauty of the Village Movement is it's seniors taking control of their own lives. They pool their resources to be able to help each other stay in their homes as long as possible.
Can I help you take out some of the trash?
The fee for our membership is $365. We have a $1 a day peace of mind approach. For $1 a day, you have one phone number you call, and we're there to help.
I do everything from picking them up, taking them to the grocery store. Maybe they want a light bulb changed.
Today is a great example of a day out. We picked them up, they got lunch, they got to visit with each other, chit-chat, catch up on things, and there was this fantastic exhibit of Italian costumes.
So welcome to the Annenberg Center for the Performing Arts, Il Teatro alla Moda.
Next, I'm going to visit Eileen Taylor. She has some things that need to be done around the house. There's going to be a handyman there. And at times, we're a little nervous about being alone with the handyman.
Hi, I'm Mark from Wise Connections.
Oh, well, I'm Eileen.
Nice to meet you.
It means a lot because you don't like to answer the door when you're alone to strange people.
And this is the simple way to install them.
Even I could do that. People need people. That's all there is to it. I appreciate that Wise Connections doing this for us.
Sure.
It's a great service, isn't it?
Whatever it is that we can do that can make their life easier on a day-to-day basis, that's what we're there for.
Barbara, hi. Good to see you again. Good morning. Okay. Good to see you. Good. Are we ready to go shopping?
I'm ready.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Okay, Sarah, we're on our way.
At least it's not that far away.
it does take a village, because in my building, I do see people just sitting there shriveling up because they have nobody that they can depend on.
You don't need any milk or anything?
Yes, I don't have that problem because I do get around. I do go to the market. Bananas.
Okay, we'll look for bananas.
But you have peace of mind, you got friendship and love. You're so patient.
Oh.
That is so nice. My hope is that this village movement will grow and that it will go to each and every community. Very good.
Thank you.
Well, this should last me a while, Barbara.
Okay. Well, so that's just a little bit about Wise Connections, and we are, it's always every day is exciting, and as we're growing, it's there's always challenges, but it's very exciting, and also just about the whole involvement of community volunteers, that all of our volunteers find it so rewarding because you're actually making a real difference in people's lives. So whether you want to get involved as a member or as a volunteer, it's a very exciting initiative. So I will pass it off to Brandy.
Hello, my name is Brandy. I am with Real Connections. We are located in Claremont, California, and we're a little bit different. We're kind of the similar business model, but we don't plan to launch our program until the middle of this summer. And so I'm going to talk more about the development piece of developing a village and how we went about doing that. We are also a hub and spoke model. Our hub is Community Senior Services, and they've been serving the senior population for 36 years. They serve 16 cities along the foothills from approximately Pasadena down through the Inland Empire. We are unique because we service both Los Angeles County and San Bernardino County. Here you'll see a list of the 9 different programs that Community Senior Services has. In about 2008, 2009, the board of directors decided that, we really need to reevaluate our programs and see if what we're doing is actually making a difference in the community and if it's going to continue to be sustainable. The first program that you see there is Get About Transportation. That's a federally funded program. The Family Caregiver Support Program and the Enrichment Center were both state funded. They are now private funded. The 2 programs following that are both federally funded programs, Community Connections as well, federally funded. This scared our board of directors because federal funding comes and it goes, and we really needed to look at new business models of sustainability. So they went through the process of researching the market. They had heard about the village movement and decided, well, we need to do some market research. We need to see if this will be viable in our community. They first started looking with the aging trends. These are the trends that are listed here. Susan went over this a little bit. 95% of people prefer to stay in their home. Only approximately 4% of people will actually move into any kind of senior living. And also when you're looking at this population with 50 and over, it varies greatly between working people that are still working, active retirees, and then frail elderly. Depending upon your health and your wealth will determine where you fall on that continuum. And so we looked at how could we address the needs of many different lifestyles. And the challenge was, where to go one place for trusted information and trusted resources. We started doing market analysis in about 2010. We went to our local acute hospital and our local health maintenance organization, and we said, look, Medicare is going to stop paying you if you have readmissions within 30 days of discharge from the hospital, and how can we work together? We think that this is going to help your guys' cause. They funded the market research. We sent out 25,000 surveys to our communities. We received about 1,000 surveys back, which was a pretty good response rate. And then we started looking at the demographic analysis as well as the needs, and what we got back from those surveys on would people be willing to pay for something, what needs do they have, what do they anticipate needing in the future, and do they even know where to go now to get services that they need. After we did the market research, we found out that it was about between 65 years old and 74 was our main market. They agreed that $54 a month would be a fair price to pay to receive these services. And so from that point on, after going and meeting with our strategic partners that we have in the community, because we've been there for 36 years, and talking about, is this something that our community wants, it was decided that yes, through the market research, this would be a good option for us to go through. It was at that point in 2011 that the business plan development started with the Board of Directors for Community Senior Services. We defined our program approach, our membership projections, our service dimensions, and our marketing and development, as well as a financial analysis. Once the strategic plan was done, we went back to the hospital and we said, look, we want to start this in the community. Do you want to support us? Now, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I came on board in October when the Board of Directors gave the final approval. Our local hospital did come through with funding for us, as well as our local health plan did come through. When that money came through to start the program was when I was brought on. Prior to me doing this, I was on a 3-year pilot program at St. Jude Hospital in Fullerton, where we were specifically tasked with going into the community, following people 65 and over after discharge, and trying to understand the reasons that people are readmitted to the hospital. So it was an outpatient case management service, really tackling the Medicare issues and what kind of programs do we need to create to reduce the readmission rate of people 65 and over. After the 3-year pilot program, our hospital's overall readmission rate was 12.9%. Our readmission rate for our program for 65 and over was cut in half. It was 6.2%. And what we would do is we would go into the home and we would follow people as long as needed. If somebody had a lot of needs, we would follow them for 2 years. There was no maximum capacity. And what we found was that 9 times out of 10, people were being readmitted not because their medical condition was being exacerbated. They were being readmitted because they had an unmet social need, a day-to-day living issue that was unmet that then would lead to their readmission. Quick example of that would be somebody that has congestive heart failure, comes home, doesn't have the energy to be up cooking, so they're eating frozen meals. Their water weight goes up, the pressure on their heart is affected, and they're right back in the hospital because they took on too many fluids simply because they couldn't prepare fresh meals, because maybe they have another condition, spinal stenosis or something like that, that is also impacting them. And so we found that it wasn't, in fact, the medical condition. It was the social needs. At the end of that pilot program was when they were deciding what they were going to do, and that's when I was told about this village. I felt like what I was doing at the hospital was putting a Band-Aid on a much larger gaping wound, and that I wasn't really getting at the core issues that seniors face as they age, and that is simply having assistance with day-to-day things. That's a little background on myself and how we got involved with our hospital and with our health plan. And so our local hospital gave us $150,000. Our local health plan gave us $130,000. And the Archstone Foundation, which is tasked to do market research so that we have studies that are out there that are available that this actually does make a difference in the lives of seniors. So for anyone that is looking to start a village, I would highly recommend you start with your hospital and your health plan, because as of this year, Medicare will not pay anymore for readmissions, and the hospitals are finding that they really have to give person-centered care rather than objective-centered care, and so they really are tasked with figuring out how can we follow this person in the community to make sure that the care is really person-centered. This is our mission up here. Real Connections is a member-driven resource network offering trusted information, valued services, and enriching relationships that enable individuals to live and age well in their own homes and communities. I'm going to go into our market. We are a hub and spoke model. Community Senior Services is the hub. We have two different spokes. We call them Real LA and Real San Bernardino. Instead of separating out cities into spokes, we decided to clump 4 cities together per spoke, because in our area you can drive through all 4 of those cities in about 12 to 15 minutes. So it made sense for us, for our geographical location, that's how we plan to do it. At the bottom, that's the market research that we got back from the surveys. 75% of the people want to stay in home. The really surprising thing is, because we've been there for 36 years, the people that know us, and the people that don't know us, don't know us. And we were very surprised when we got these surveys back to find out that 40% of the community over the age of 65 had no idea where to turn for resources. And we thought, we've been here for so long, how do people not know? So that was very surprising to us. The interest on what they wanted back, the primary interest was a one-call referral where they could get trusted information as well as discounts. They wanted to stay connected with their community, and they wanted service offerings in 6 different groups based on high priority. These are some of the services and benefits. I will actually go through each of these, but this is what we got back from our market research, is that this is what people were interested in, and this is what they wanted. By the way, Real Connections stands for Resources for Ageless Living. We are open. Our membership is open to those 50 plus. Our annual single person is $570 a year. If members pay in full, they end up saving money because we have to factor in cost analysis with having to run credit cards each month, and there's a charge that goes along with that. So in the business development, you really have to look at how are you going to go about charging the fees, and how are you going to keep your program sustainable. These fees were also derived from what the market told us that they were willing to pay. Not until we launch will we be able to actually average out the cost per member, per service, what it costs us to serve one person. I know other villages have done that, and they do vary. This is from our strategic business plan. We are a business model because we come from an organization that has been in the community. A lot of villages are very grassroots and they only have volunteers. We are not like that. We are a business model. This is what we have projected. Our revenue sources would be the members' fees, and we also have to go out and find corporate and strategic partners, do fundraising and in-kind assistance and things of that nature. This was the startup funding that I had talked about, Inter Valley Health Plan. I won't go over that again. The Visiting Nurses Association also gave us $12,000 for startup. And then Southern California Edison came through with an unexpected grant. We literally got a check in the mail that we had no idea we were going to get for $5,000. And so what we did with that was we decided to maximize our resources, that we would have paid graduate interns doing roles such as marketing, member services, things of that nature. This is our model, our hub and spoke model. The CSS board is on the top, which is also the governing board for Real Connections. We have an advisory group that we constructed. This advisory group really steers us in where we're going. For a village that is going to start up, I would recommend that you really give some thought to who you we personally invited people to be on this advisory group. We purposely selected people in the community that were very well connected, that knew people with money, power, and resources, so that we could get this up and going. And that's our operating structure there. Our team, the CEO of Community Senior Services is a .25 full-time employee. I am the only full-time employee, and then Abby Castillo is a .15 full-time employee. Those are the 3 interns. Like I said, we repurposed that money to do paid internships and gave them ownership roles, so they have a role in this community. This is our board of directors. You'll be able to find all of this on the internet later. I just wanted to show that in establishing a board of directors, in establishing an advisory group, it's very important to diversify. You make sure that you have a mix of not-for-profit and for-profit professionals to be steering your village. This is our advisory group. They are really going to be the people that get you connected with the people that you need to know in the community. We selected these people because they know the people, like I said, with power, money, and resources, and that's what you need to be able to. If you're doing this in a business model, you have to follow it like a business model. Essential community partnerships, like I said, the hospital health system, we can save them money. The home care agencies, not everyone can afford that, but they can afford our assistance. The healthcare providers, when I worked at St. Jude Hospital, the one thing that physicians always told us is that the 65 and over population do not come on time or prepared. They get in the room, they forget what they're going to say, and it's not until they're on their way out the door that they remember their questions, which then slows down the effectiveness of the physicians. And so with our model, we have what's called a med pals, where somebody will help you prepare your questions before, they'll go with you to the doctor appointment, and then they'll take down, because how many times have you asked, hey Betty, what did your doctor say? Oh, you know, the same old thing, when there was really a lot more dialogue there, and it's very important to capture that, that dialogue. Also, it's very important to note that a lot of people think that assisted livings and whatnot are our competition. It's important that you establish relationships with assisted livings in your community, because you are not their competition. Only 4% of the population will actually move into their facility. And what they've done is they've opened up their facilities for our members to go use their aquatic centers, to go to their activities that they have going on. And that way for them, once a member needs to move, they already have that relationship established, because the assisted livings have now kind of broken down their walls, opened themselves up to the community. And so they already know where they're going to go should that time come. So it's very important to ensure that your village is up and last by making community partnerships. I could go through all of these in more detail about how we can affect their business and they can affect our business, but there's not enough time for that. This goes back into that, the home maintenance services also. It's a revenue generator. The assisted livings that have a wonderful home maintenance have opened up their home maintenance people to provide discounted services to our members. That's another way for them bringing down their walls, and it's a revenue generator for them. These are our member services, and I'm about out of time here. It goes through, these last slides are the slides that are the services that we provide, as well as you'll see at the front, I have left these documents so that you can pick them up. I'm sorry? Go ahead and go through. Oh, okay. Is it going back? Okay. Sorry about that. I had 15 minutes to talk, but I'm over. So because we chose real connections, we like the wordplay on connections, and so this is our concierge or personal assistance type services. This would be, because we are a volunteer first model, our members volunteer for each other as well as the outside community volunteers for our members. Anything that's appropriate for a volunteer to do, we will link a volunteer to do that. That could be seasonal cleanup, cleaning out your gutters. You know, somebody that has spinal stenosis should not be climbing on a ladder, but if they live alone, how else are they going to get those gutters cleaned out? referrals to pre-screened service providers. We've gone into the community, and anything that's inappropriate for a volunteer to do, anything that needs to be licensed, bonded, insured, things of that nature. We have a very rigorous vetting process. We will only work with companies that do background checks on all of their employees. We then do a background check on the owner of the company, make sure there's no malpractice or fraud or anything like that in the background. We also go through the Better Business Bureau, and then also our members. Right now we have charter members because we're not open for launch yet, but the members will also, they can get online and they can talk about their experience with different providers so that you can then access, oh, what did my neighbor think about this plumber, or what did my neighbor think about this roofer? And then those people, if they've made it through our vetting process, they then agree to give our members a between 10 and 30% discount on their services. We have retired contractors who will sit down with you and go over those bids that you're given by these different people, and then also look at the job after it's done to make sure that it was done right. And that is simply a volunteer, one of the members that will go through and do that. Because we're located right in Claremont and we have a very good relationship with the different vendors in the community, we have gone to local shopping stores, yarn stores, coffee shops, things like that, and they will give our members, if you come on Tuesday between 2 and 4, we'll give you a 30% discount on whatever it is that you purchase. So that's another thing that we've done. And then it's the social part of it. So the members can go online. If you don't use the internet, I can come to your house. You can pick up the phone and call me. We're not going to let the internet stop, any members' needs not being met. If you want to learn how to use the internet, we have the Claremont colleges, and all of their graduate students are more than happy to come and teach people and go through the time and everything that it takes. Fitness and Wellness Connection, we've partnered with a lot of our community care agencies, as well as the assisted livings that I was talking about, and they have agreed to let our members utilize their facilities. Because because the health plan gave us funding, the health plan is also giving us health maintenance classes and things like that for our members so that they can thrive while they age. And then the member-driven interest groups also. And I'm going to stop there.
Susan worked with me for many, many months to put this together, and you guys, I have not seen a better presentation when I worked or was anything. So
we're not done yet.
I know, but you guys provided so much information, and each person covered just the different topics enough to really give us a broad range. So again, thank you very, very much for coming out with us. Okay, Jim.
We have one more. One more. So I just wanted to share a little bit with you from my perspective. I'm going to change hats now. As a founder, board member, and member of San Francisco Village. And we started in 2009. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of sort of lessons learned and some tips that might be helpful in the planning process. So where's the clicker? Thanks. So basically, we started, I don't know how many of you saw this. In 2006, there was an article in the New York Times written by Jane Gross, and it was all about the village, Beacon Hill Village. And Beacon Hill Village had been working on developing its village since 2002, but this was the first time it had gotten that kind of national press. Well, that article went viral. I got about 10 copies of it. And it sparked so many communities and so many to look at this and so many conversations around the country. And in San Francisco, we took a look at that and said, Beacon Hill is not San Francisco. Can we duplicate it? Can we replicate it? What fits? What doesn't fit? What are the different things we have to think about that they may not have had to do? So that was a very important part. We had a planning group that came together, which eventually became the board of directors. So people came into that group. Some people stayed, some people left, but it started to grow as part of our process in building the organization. We did set ourselves up as a 501c3, and we got our 501c3 status in 2008. And we were moving on parallel tracks, and I think that's one piece that I would say you have to keep in mind going forward. If you start a new nonprofit, or even if you start a program of another organization, however that's structured, you are moving forward on multiple tracks at the same time. You have to think about how you're going to start, who's going to help get it off the ground, what funding you need to pay consultants to help with grant writing, who's going to do your 501c3, all those kinds of things. What is your structure going to look like? So you start collecting all that information and looking at it, demographics to the degree that you can get your hands on those and use those. And so we went through all that process, but I will tell you it took us 18 months to get to a place where we thought we could hire someone and thought it was doable. And I think, knowing what I know now, I could shave a year off of that for other organizations. So part of that is by way of saying, do take advantage of the expertise that is now available in the village-to-village movement. Okay. So just a quick profile of the village. We are a freestanding nonprofit. We do serve the whole city of San Francisco. Our membership is about 150. It has not grown as quickly as we thought it would across the bay in Berkeley. Theirs has grown about twice as fast. So that's another thing to look at. What's the culture of your community in terms of joiners, people who want to be part of organizations? What's the sense of independence, or the people that say, I like it, but I'm not so sure. So that's an important thing to think about. Our fees are $50 a month, which is $50 a month, $600 a year for one person, and $62.50 a month or $750 a year for a two-person household. And we do have reduced fee memberships available, which many villages do, because sometimes that fee can be too high for people to pay. Our staffing is a full-time executive director and a full-time member services and volunteer manager. I was overwhelmed with the incredible variety of programs that both Brandy and Caroline talked about. San Francisco Village does similar things, so I won't go over those, but it's that culture of developing a broad range of services for people. The things that make villages work are a few that are so important. People who really want this for themselves have to come together and help build it. And everybody has skills. And part of the thing in developing a village is that you really want people to come back, figure out what you can do, figure out what other people can do. If you can't do something, somebody else can. But everybody has something to offer in this, and that's what gives it its strength, it's what gives it its power. So just, I really urge people not to be shy about coming forward. There's a role for everyone to play. We found that the level of interest and excitement and just expertise in the village movement is extraordinary. People come forward who have backgrounds in every imaginable thing that you would want on a board of directors: marketing, legal services, aging expertise, all kinds of things that you need, and that's such an incredibly rich resource. And the other thing that, again, going back to the parallel tracks, is making sure that you're thinking about funding from day one. You need to be thinking about funding from day one and a business plan from day one. And the business plan, is a flexible tool. It may fit you for 6 months, and then you go, wait, we've learned all these things, now we want to revise it. Then you revise it. But having those plans in place and thinking about them as you move forward is important. And not being shy about going out and talking to anyone who you think could be a partner or might be interested in being a founder or a charter member. The concept of charter members is you pay your cash up front for 6 months or a year. The village has that in the bank, and when it opens, then you've already paid up. You don't have to pay anymore. So thinking about those kinds of things and taking advantage of the connections that everybody that's involved with the village has makes a huge difference. The village, again, here's some of the background in terms of design. We've talked about that, but you can't talk about this enough. We found that when we go out and start talking to people, it resonates. It resonates incredibly. And so you can end up having conversations that lead you don't know where they'll lead you. But often it's to another resource, it's to another idea, it's to something else that can be a benefit to you. One of the most powerful tools in villages is what we call living room chats. We found that recruiting people to this, some people come naturally. They love the idea, they're there, they want to join, they want to help build it. Other people are slower to come to the realization that it might help them. Some don't think it will. But one of the ways that we got information that served us well and was not expensive were these living room chats. We would have people who were enthusiastic about it have a group of people over to their home, and you talk. And you serve some food, and you serve some wine, and they talk more. And but you get great information, and what you do, people are eager to talk about this. And so you learn about what people's stories are, and you learn about what they think their needs are going to be, and what their family situations are, and that really helps you understand what that community needs. And if you can get people who are in some of the organizations that are interested in this there too, they can help identify what the gaps are. Although, when you do these living room chats, you'll hear what the gaps are, because people are not shy about saying that. But in terms of recruiting members, one-to-one connections are so important. And I think almost everyone in San Francisco Village came through a connection to a current member, or a connection of a connection, or went to a social event and had a good time and liked it. So there's so many places you can touch people along the way in terms of making them knowledgeable and providing information. Like we've all said, don't reinvent the wheel. Find those partnerships where they are available. The advisory council is a fabulous idea. We've done that as well. Our biggest challenge, though, was we had people say, sure, love the idea, but you really have to think thoughtfully about what you're going to do with that advisory committee. Is it for money? Is it for status? Is it because they'll give you expert advice? So they need to know that when they come on, and the organization needs to be clear on what they're going to ask them to do. But that can be a great source of funding. It can be a source of visibility. It's really great for the connections piece. I just mentioned this because it now makes me laugh. It didn't when we were going through it. But we named ourselves 4 different times. So we started as Aging in Place. I mean, boring. Then we were like, okay, we're going to serve one part of San Francisco, so we became Richmond Village. Well, that was okay till a bunch of other people outside of the Richmond area wanted to be part. So we became San Francisco Village North Side, which was okay until people in the south part of San Francisco wanted to join. So we decided San Francisco Village, and to serve the whole city. So that's what we've done, and we are now starting to move toward the hub and spoke model, because San Francisco is such a neighborhood-based city that what we're calling them are circles. So we're hoping to have groups of volunteers in different neighborhoods become their own volunteer and service organizations, but the administrative hub will be the village office itself, so they don't have to recreate that. Strategic planning is critical. I won't go through all the details, but we did it in phases. And we didn't know we were doing it in phases, and I can only tell you that now since we've been through the phases. But I told you I could save you some time here. But the first one was really just to generate interest and attract founders and attract people who thought it was a great idea. The second one was was about 3 years later, and it was, okay, this is where we are today. We need to organize to get ourselves to the future, and we were able to identify our goals for the future in terms of membership growth and fundraising, and it helped us realize what the organization needed to look like in a better way. So our vision, mission, very similar to the others in terms of improving the lives of older adults. We did a branding exercise as we went through all of this. This is the logo that we ended up with, that circle there, with the different areas that are offered. Again, very similar to the other villages. The strategic planning round 2 got us to a place where we really added a dimension to our mission, and we made it much more action focused. So in addition to saying yes, we wanted to make sure that people in San Francisco had a dignified way to age and were respected and had access to services, we came up with the statement, San Francisco Village is my trusted advocate in active aging, offering community, guidance, and support for everyday and future needs. So it was a commitment to our members to be present for them to achieve that mission. And then we set up 4 pillars of organization for that. We have an advocate pillar where we're building a group of advocates within the organization to do many of the things that Brandy and Caroline talked about. The community within the village, which is our own members and how we serve them better. The development of our volunteer corps. And then our stewards, our governance, nominating, financing, fundraising, those kinds of things. So we're looking forward to more growth in the future. We're trying to come up with some innovative ways to recruit members, including working with condo associations and apartment buildings. We're doing the same kind of transition to home projects, really helping people plan for their future. And, we've got the same concept of the new members. We've abbreviated to the NRYs, the not ready yet, but we don't know. And I think the piece that never ends is being out there in the community and letting people know about it. You never know when it's going to resonate with something at what point in their lives and for what reasons. So that's important. I want to leave you with a couple of just 2 quick things. One is, one of our favorite sayings in the Village Movement is that if you've seen one village, you've seen one village. And that's true, and that's intentional because they are meant to reflect the communities they're in. And you can see how the different approaches are, the different approach we took in San Francisco. So that's I think what gives so much excitement to this. This is not a box. You know, you build it, and you are not restrained. Funding may be a restraint in some ways, but that helps build partnerships, and everybody's into collaboration these days. So there are so many opportunities with it, and you're not, villages aren't regulated and they're not licensed. And they certainly have to hold themselves to a very high standard of delivering services and keeping their promises to members, but they have a ton of flexibility to do things. And the other thing I would say is, we're doing this for the generation that we're all aware of now, but it's a legacy because there are equally large generations of older adults coming up the pipeline. So when we start these, it will really be a value in a lasting way. And I will leave you with one quote that I love by Margaret Mead, which I think really sums up the Village Movement, which is, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, all three of you. Coming this far, I echo Nancy's comments, bringing your expertise, your information, and the gentle spirit that you obviously have to get these things going is greatly appreciated. We're going to take questions now, and those of you in the audience who might want to ask questions, please make your way to the podium, and you can ask them from there. In the meantime, I think you had a question, didn't you, Nick?
Yes. Susan, it strikes me as I heard all three presentations that by far the largest share of the services being provided are those that involve personal contact between one member and a volunteer or a service provider or another member. And I was struggling with the notion of 150 members scattered over the city the size of San Francisco, and wondered whether you had a feel for, well, just how isolated can a member be and still be feasible as a member, that we can provide those services?
Yeah, I think the concept of sort of the personal touch has different aspects to it. So some members will come to events and we can help them get rides, and they can come from around the city. For other people who may not leave their home as much, that can be computer-based. I mean, there are programs that are available through, there's something called, Senior Center Without Walls that people can contact by calling in. There's different ways to do that. Having said that, I don't think anything takes the place of another person being in the same room with you. So the challenge there, and this is why we went while we're thinking about going to the hub and spoke model as the other villages have done, people can help each other in a smaller way. So you don't have to cross the city or cross Los Angeles to get to somebody who needs a volunteer. You have people that are closer, and you both might want to. Is there anything you want to say about that?
I have a quick question. I noticed, Brandy, you talked a little bit about partnering with commercial enterprises, which seems to me a really grand idea. Carolyn, have you guys done that? In other words, is the local cleaners give you a discount for your group or that sort of thing?
Yeah, we have. That's part of the vetted vendors, and most villages do have a list of vetted vendors. We have probably about 60 or so now, and the majority of them do give a discount between 10 and 20%. So.
It seemed to me a natural partnership. You get a group. How many people do you have up in the Bay Area that are associated with this, Susan? Quite a few, isn't it? It's a large number.
For membership is about 150. It's 150 memberships. That's about 200 people.
Okay, 200 people.
Yeah.
All right. That's 200 people that a lot of businesses would probably like to know about. So.
We get calls from businesses all the time.
Yeah.
We actually have to fend them off because
really?
Well, you have to be careful that they're in it for the right reason. We get a lot of home care agencies, people who serve seniors specifically, and we vet those very carefully. We go out to the agencies, look at their files. So you have to be really careful about them.
Gotcha. Okay.
My question is sort of from the financial aspect. Realizing that this is still a fairly new program, I've seen where it looks like Archstone and NCB are primary funders for a lot of the villages. Has it gotten to the point where you understand, or have any of the villages really become self-sufficient, or does it require ongoing grant work beyond the initial startup?
So one of the important things here is just to be clear on what we're talking about. Villages, I don't think there's any village that is making it, maybe one, only on their membership fees. If that's the definition of whether they're economically viable, then I would say that's not the case for most of them. But a business model that does work, even though it takes a lot of time, is one that is membership fees, is grants, is donations, is sponsorships, is donations, in-kind donations. So, I struggle a little bit with this concept because I think that it's important for villages to have strong business plans based on what's available to them in their community. So some of them may be able to support higher membership fees. That may not be feasible for another one. So the sustainability issue is significant, but it varies a lot.
There is one village that is sustainable. It's Avenidas, and they charge.
Oh, you're right.
I think it's $850 for an individual and $1,200 for a year. And that's they have like 360 members.
Right.
But sustainability is what every village is always looking at, and funders want to see some sort of sustainable model, and yet there has not been a successful model. Yeah, I mean, that hasn't relied just on, that's only relied on membership fees. As Susan said, most rely on either grants or donations, other sort of funding. But we're always, we're hoping with our hub and spoke business model and partnering with a nonprofit that because we can be fairly lean and we can rely on the organization to help with some of the overall overhead cost, that and as you go to different spokes, you can generate larger membership. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I mean, it's all new. It's so early to tell, but.
Also, it's important to note that I would say, would you agree that a majority of them are between 60-40 or 70-30, as far as 60% sustained by membership and the other 40% by grants and things of that nature? In our strategic business plan, we have it laid out to be 70-30.
Did you say KCET, and that will be tonight? Do you know what time?
I don't know. I can look at it.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to.
Do you get KCET channel 35? Is that?
We get KCET in this general area, although we are somewhat in the boondocks.
Yeah, I'll be on the road. Oh, okay.
I believe it's at 8 o'clock.
Thank you.
On 28.
They just sent us the email, so we kind of find out about this last minute. So I was leaving, and I saw what time I saw that it was on tonight.
You got a question there? Yeah, go ahead.
Also, she said that she would be, I'm sorry to interrupt, she would be willing to post it on your guys' local website here. Because the disc is here, she can go ahead and upload it to the website so you can watch it whenever you'd like.
Okay. Okay, I have a couple questions. First, I'm the manager of the Simi Valley Senior Center. So one of the questions that came to me right away is, do you vet your volunteers also? Because they're going into senior homes. How do you do that? And then do you worry at all about liability? Because they're going into seniors' homes.
I can talk to this one. We do vet our volunteers. The first thing happens is they fill out an application. On that application, it asks about things such as DUIs, criminal backgrounds. We give them the option to tell us first, so that way the people that don't tell us, it's really easy to weed them out because they weren't honest on the application. So first they fill out the application. It's very extensive, and it has 3 references on it. We then go and check the references. If the references check out, then we call the person in for an interview. If we like how the interview goes, then we have structured it into our budget that we do a Department of Justice background check, as well as the sex offender registry check, and that's paid for by us. Like I said, we factored it into our budget to have that done, and then if they can pass all of those, then they'll be approved to be volunteers. and the liability issue is something that comes up with several villages. We try, in all of our documents and everything, we make it clear in our volunteer training as well as our member intake that Real Connections is simply connecting a volunteer and a member, and that we are not held liable. We give our volunteers a scope of service. You can provide this scope of service. If they act outside of that scope of service, we can clearly not be liable for that because we already told them up front what they can and cannot do, and that if they want to enter in an agreement with that member, it's strictly between the member and the volunteer. We have the member sign those documents as well as the volunteer to make ourselves a neutral party, but we will also advocate for our members if something goes wrong. If a vetted vendor doesn't provide what they're supposed to, we don't just leave our members hanging. At that point, we will then advocate to correct or fix the situation.
Right, we have time for one more question. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me? My name is Rebecca Goldfarb. I'm here with 3 hats on. One, I am the only grandchild in my family, and I've been caring for grandparents my whole life. And so my grandma's 92, and it's always amazing to look at resources that are out there for our family members. And the other is I'm an estate planning and elder law attorney, and so to have these resources to know for my clients is fabulous. And I'm also on the Topanga Town Council in Topanga Canyon here, and I know that we have reached out to you in Santa Monica a little bit to see how we can be incorporated. We're part of LA Unincorporated, and we're in a mountain community. So our seniors, especially our shut-ins, are completely isolated, and we have no resources that are really great for them. We've started a program with the Town Council called the Canyon Sages, because our seniors don't want to be called seniors. And and so, we have a lot of wild sage. Yeah, we have a lot of wild sage growing in the canyon, and we have a lot of wisdom. So, it was a natural, a great word. But I'm just wondering, would either of your groups ever reach part of the San Fernando Valley where I have a lot of clients, or the LA area, or Topanga, because it's hard to duplicate everything that you've done, and it's so absolutely amazing. I'm so impressed with what all of you have said.
We had originally talked about expanding into Topanga.
Okay, great. When?
Yeah. Well, we're trying to. We're realizing that you got to take it one step at a time. So our next move is up to Pacific Palisades, but we
so close.
Yeah, we're getting there. But we'd always be willing to chat and see how we can help. And you can again with the hub and spoke, you can still become part of Wise Connections, but you may not be able to get as much support from staff, but certainly we could help you to develop the structure and the volunteers. And you'd also want to look at do some research about some rural villages. I know there's one up in Oregon that's got a very good model because it's very different than how we would do it. But we could certainly chat
And you spoke to the independent factor. Topanga has some unique characters.
Yeah.
Independence is one kind of way to describe it, so I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much, and thank you guys as well.
I'm going to start taking them down.
Okay, thank you very much. And before I adjourn the meeting, I would like to wish Councilman Dennis Gillette happiness and peace in his retirement, and to thank him for the years of service, and particularly to his attention to senior issues. Good luck, Mr. Gillette. At this point, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.